Hi friend, David here from Learn Stage Lighting, and in this video we're going to talk about think twice about your wiring. I just want to give you in this video some quick, easy ways to neaten up your wiring when you're working on a pipe, on a truss, on the ground, any type of way that you would have lights hung. We're going to talk about how to get the most out of it. We're going to do that right now. First of all, we're here. I don't have my truss out yet, so let's just think about the ground, okay? A really common way to set up lights is to have a bunch of uplights on the ground, right? Like when I do shows, a lot of times you get, some uplights on the ground, and then maybe near those, you're gonna have a moving head, nearby, right? And we'll put its cables towards me. We'll pretend I'm the wall, and you're ready to wire this up. So what are some techniques? What are some tips? How do we make this look nice? Well, it's actually pretty simple. There's a couple things that I want to look for when I'm doing a setup like this. The first is when I am coming into an LED fixture like this, that's doing the uplight thing, I typically want to come through the side of the yoke like this, okay, instead of through the back. And the reason why is if I go through the back like this, make sure my knobs are loose so they don't over tighten. If I go through the back and then I've got to turn it the other way, sometimes, not with this fixture, but with other fixtures, they can actually get caught up on the yoke itself, okay? And then you can't move it. Now this is Gamma's Starburst par, as I mentioned. I love these lights. This is actually the older version, but they have a long enough yoke that that's not a problem. But on a lot of fixtures, that can be a problem. And so I do like to come in through the side on a lot of fixtures. And as long as you have enough under there that when you plug it in, it has a little bit of room to move, then you typically don't have as much of a problem, and it stays really neat fixture to fixture to fixture. Okay, the other thing I like to do is in between fixtures, let's just say we're going to our next fixture now. I like to keep all my wiring to the wall on like a moving head like this, okay? It's a little bit dark. And so between fixtures, again, nice and neat. Keep any extra cable behind this fixture, wrap it up nice. Of course, this is a new cable and it's just all kinds of nasty. And we want to keep it real nice, and then we're gonna go ahead and use a piece of tie line or something to secure that right there real good. Okay, let's talk about our friend the truss. All right, so when we get a truss, we're just gonna unplug these, move them out of our way for a second. When we get a truss, and I've got some mini truss here, we're not actually going to clamp the lights on it today, but I will demonstrate. So we've got a truss here. This is just some mini mono price truss, just some cheap 8-inch truss, but works for demonstrations. May work for your needs as well. There's a couple things we want to do to keep the cables really neat. First and foremost, when I'm coming up a truss, okay, and I've got some multiple cables, so I've got a power inlet here with a bunch of tape on it. I've got my data, and I'm coming up this truss, okay? There's a few ways people do it. Some people go inside the truss at the bottom. They literally go inside it. So I went at the bottom, I went ding, ding, ding. I went inside it, and they shoot up it. I find that more often than not, that just gets really messy. It has a lot of that going on. Sorry for the noise. And it often looks messy and doesn't get cleaned up well. And it takes more time on setup and teardown to be fishing your cables through the truss. The better way to do it is on a truss vertically like this, is just go to the back, okay? So say I'm, back's towards me, just come up the back like this. You see that? You can't even see that cable. Then at the top or wherever your fixture is, find a truss piece there that's coming across, use my tie line, nice and neat. Then, when I'm done with all of my cables, and I was going to get more tie line, but I didn't because I got distracted, we just go ahead and grab this. This time I'm just grabbing one of those Velcro ties. That'll work too if you don't have tie line. and I'm just going to come down the truss anywhere that I'm seeing it stick out. If your cables are decently behaved, you can actually just do one at the top, do one at the bottom, and a lot of the times that's plenty because gravity helps you out there. And so boom, you just take that, you got your top piece, your bottom piece. If I can tie while talking, we'll have some success here. and then it's neat, it's clean. You don't see from the other side any bits of cable once I pull it tight. And then the way that it looks to me is down the back, nice and clean. If you have spots again that stick out, just another piece of tie line or black electrical tape or silver electrical tape on truss if you want to be super particular, or white. And now it's nice and neat. Cables come out to your fixtures. Anywhere that you do have a fixture on truss, because this method works actually side to side as well. As we're coming across our truss here, okay, we're gonna have that cable nice and neat across the top. We can tie it down the center if it's professional truss. This truss doesn't have a good place to tie in the center. These are okay. And so tying it down one end or the other is great, is neat. It looks really nice, okay? Tie it at the end and use an appropriate strain relief if there's a lot of cable. And so we tie that. When we come to a fixture on a truss, okay, hanging off of it, especially a non-moving fixture. Okay, when you've got a moving light, it's not as big of a deal as a non-moving fixture that you have to point. Okay, so we've got this light and say it's hanging here. I've got some clamps over there, but I don't want this truss to tip because honestly this fixture is a lot heavier than this truss. So you get this light and it's hanging off the truss here, right? What do we do with the cable? Well, what you want to do and what you want to be careful about is giving yourself, before you tie it down, enough cable to come to the light, okay, and get it plugged in. And that's going to be on all its cables, so we'll do that with its power as well, okay? And then before you tie it back, and that's where having your tie line even just 6 inches back or so, 12 inches is great. Before you tie these down, make sure you have enough space to tilt that fixture as far forward as you possibly need to, okay? So that, like in this case, you see this fixture is pointed like way down. When I hang them, I'll often hang them like this. Have the team that's working with me go and, you know, get a new piece of tie line, what have you. In this case, I'm just sliding this one. And then, see it's hung like way back. Tie it up real nice. And then what you're going to see, if I can tie, I have tied my shoes before, I promise. Just a simple shoe tie, because that comes out nice and easy. What you'll see then is when I need to go point this light, no matter where I need to point it, you know, take it back, kind of aim it where we think we need to. There's enough cable to get where we're going, okay? When you have it too tight, like here, we'll just pull the power cable super tight. Okay, so you hang this light, maybe it's hanging like this. You pull the power cable tight. Now you go to point it, you go to focus it, and that cable gets stuck and you can't move the fixture where you need to forward-wise, okay? And so that's a big issue, especially with non-moving lights. With a moving it, of course, you know, you've got a fixture like this Gamma Borealis where you've got the base, okay? And the base doesn't move, only the head moves. And so you've got that sitting on your truss. You know, cables come into it, cables go out of it, but it doesn't move. So as long as the cables aren't being like pulled against the jacks or anything like that, you're gonna be good to go there. Not as particular for a moving light as a non-moving light, okay? What else? You know, when you're dealing with pipes and trusses, take your time to be careful. Like I mentioned, you know, having your cables all come down one side of the truss together like this is really great. If you're sharing a truss, particularly with audio signal, and I know most things are digital these days, so it's not as much of an issue, but keeping your audio signal cable on one side of the truss and your lighting cable on the other side can be really helpful. That's not as much of an issue with interference as we used to get, like when we had lots of dimmers and dimmed power running across the truss. But still, sometimes having that lighting power on the same side as some audio signal can create some interference. There can be some issues there. And just getting that cable just, 6 inches apart on either side of the truss keeps it clean. And the other thing that it does, we'll just get our friendly audio cable here. The other thing that it does do for us is when it comes down to teardown time, we can clean up our lighting cables from one side, then come by, clean up our audio cables on the other side. They're not this huge, ugly, intertwined mess. They're nice, neat, and clean and separated. And of course, as we've been talking about this month, that also helps us when we need to troubleshoot. If we're trying to trace down where a cable's going, if it's not a big spaghetti monster with everything all intertwined, it's easier to see what we're doing. Troubleshoot. Okay, where did this cable go? I'm following it down the truss. Oh, it came unplugged here where 2 cords were plugged in together, 2 extension cords or 2 DMXs. Okay, and it's easy to solve that. Awesome. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope you've enjoyed these tips this month here on the channel. If you have and you're new to lighting, maybe this is the first time you've run some cables, head over to learnstagelighting.com. I've got a free guide. We want to get you started with lighting, get you started on the right track today, and we'll do that with our guide on how to begin with lighting. If you're also new here, check out learnstagelightinggear.com. We have a link below where we want to be your vendor for gear. We're a dealer for most of the major brands, and if you need some gear, fill out our quote request. Let us know what you're looking for, or if you need a suggestion that'll pair well on your stage. We look at multiple brands, we pick the best stuff out, and we recommend it to you and get you a personalized price. Check it out at learnstagelightinggear.com. Have a great day. Thanks for watching.